Wet day, isn't it? Yes.
Shall I ring down for some tea?
Do you want some tea?
Not really. You?
Not really.
I shan't bother then.
The Abergavenny Murder by Bert Coules, with Clive Merrison as Sherlock Holmes and Andrew Sachs as Dr. John Watson, and featuring Ioan Meredith as the client. The Abergavenny Murder.
Add 3 drops of this. Yes, and 2 of this. Very good. Slowly heat. And wait. Wait. Well, come on.
Holmes, what are you doing?
Chemistry.
Well, yes, I have managed to work that out for myself. What's the experiment?
It's obscure, unimportant, inconclusive, and exceedingly boring.
Well, if it's unimportant, why are you doing it?
In a vain attempt to prevent my brain from shriveling up and dying in this desert.
Wet sort of desert?
You know what I mean.
Oh, there'll be another case along soon.
You make crime sound like a London omnibus.
If it were, Baker Street would be the busiest route.
Not at the moment.
No.
And perhaps never again.
What on earth do you mean?
Haven't you been reading the papers? 3 major crimes in the capital in the last month, and who solves them?
Lestrade?
Lestrade. And what's more, this time he really did solve them. It wasn't me pulling the strings and working him from out of sight.
Well, at least you can take comfort from one thing.
I can.
Of course. You taught him practically everything he knows.
That's completely irrelevant. It was an unlucky streak, that's all.
I thought you didn't believe in such things.
Well, if you want to put it in more scientific terms, random factors have operated in his favour.
3 times in a row.
No need to rub it in.
With luck or skill, it won't last. Any day now he'll be round here begging for your help.
Crowing in my face more like he and all the rest of them.
What's supposed to happen?
Not the subtlest change of subject, Doctor.
No. Well?
The solution clears when it reaches boiling point.
And that means?
I'm not sure I remember.
Perhaps you will when it happens.
Perhaps. Yes, I've sometimes thought about writing a monograph on memory and its relation to crime.
What? How much witnesses can recall, that sort of thing?
How much and how accurately. I did once get as far as doing some preliminary research.
What did you discover?
Well, that in most cases, most witnesses recall next to nothing, and what they do remember, they almost invariably get wrong.
It doesn't sound too promising. For your monograph, I mean?
Exactly the conclusion I came to myself.
Here we go. I'd say we've reached boiling point.
An impeccable bit of observation, and the solution is still cloudy.
What does that mean?
Probably that I've been wasting my time for the last 2 hours. I swear to you, Watson, if someone doesn't call soon, you'll find yourself sharing rooms with a gibbering madman. Oh, how disappointing.
What is?
I was rather hoping the doorbell would ring. It would have been like a moment from one of your lurid adventures.
Unfortunately, this is reality.
Is it? Sometimes I wonder. Oh, well. Ah, you see? A client.
Or the postman, the butcher's boy, a friend of Mrs. Hudson's?
Doctor, one can have too much reality. It's a client.
No. There's no need.
You see?
No time. I'll go straight up.
An impatient client. Better and better. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Yes, do come in. How can we be of service?
Dr. Watson, you have to help me. Mr. Holmes, they're going to kill me.
Good Lord. Holmes, get the brandy.
Right.
Sir. Sir, can you hear me?
What's wrong with him?
Just a moment.
Here, give him this.
I'm afraid it won't help. He's dead.
Dead.
Looks like heart failure.
They're going to kill me. Are you sure it's natural causes?
I can't be completely sure. Not without a post-mortem.
Shall I clear the table?
Holmes, for pity's sake, a man is dead.
Yes, my apologies, Doctor.
We must get the police.
Yes, I suppose we must.
I'll ask Mrs. Hudson to send a note round to the station.
Make it Scotland Yard.
Oh?
I really don't want some local constable stumbling his way around the sitting room, do you?
Oh, Scotland Yard it is then.
Besides, given the Strait's current monopoly, his colleagues are probably as bored as we are. This'll give them something to do.
How much shall I tell them?
As little as possible.
Right.
Intrigue them. Dangle some of your trademark suspense in their faces and let their...
What's wrong?
Incredible. I was about to say, and let their imaginations do the rest. This boredom really has addled my brain. The words Scotland Yard and imagination shouldn't be allowed in the same paragraph, let alone the same sentence.
No, you're too hard on them.
Impossible.
There. I'll take it down.
Don't tell Mrs. Hudson what's happened. She'll only want to come up here and tidy the poor chap away.
I've no intention of telling her. And I'd better say we're not to be disturbed until the police arrive.
Good idea. What did you put?
Oh, just that we require their urgent assistance.
The reverse of the old situation. That'll please them.
Yes, it won't be a moment.
Both of us will wait for you.
You know, I think I preferred you when you were bored.
Now, my friend, let's see if you can be more informative in death than you were while you were alive. That's interesting. Strange. Extremely strange. Well?
She sent the maid.
Was she curious about our visitor?
More angry than curious. I should have shown him up and announced him, Doctor. But would he let me? He would not. Soaking wet he was, too. I should have taken his coat. Is he a bad lot? Will you and Mr. Holmes be safe?
Yes, and what did you say to that?
I told her he posed absolutely no threat whatsoever, and that he wasn't in the least bothered about being wet. What have you found?
Nothing.
Nothing.
His pockets are empty, his clothes are unmarked.
So we know nothing whatsoever about him?
I wouldn't go quite that far. To start with the obvious, he was a butler, possibly in a large townhouse.
The obvious.
His clothes, Doctor. Not a gentleman's, but not a tradesman's either. Add the formal collar and the rest, and the conclusion's inescapable.
I don't know.
But the final proof was the way he entered the room.
Well, it seemed to me he just staggered in.
Well, he staggered along the landing, yes. We staggered once he was over the threshold, yes. But in between, he did something highly distinctive, which only subordinates do.
Which was?
Well, he stopped for a fraction of a second just outside the doorway. He straightened up and composed his features, or tried to, at least, the unmistakable sign of the well-trained servant, at the quality of his clothing and his age, and you have a butler.
A butler with no jacket and no hat.
Yes, that is interesting, isn't it? As is the fact that he's neglected his general appearance, though not, I suspect, from choice.
Oh?
I believe he might have been living rough, though not for more than a night or two. We already knew, of course, that he was in fear of his life from more than one assassin.
How did you deduce the living rough?
Certain overall shabbiness, ingrained dirt under the fingernails, a rather less than comprehensive shave, and the fact that his boots haven't been removed for well over 24 hours.
His boots haven't been removed?
As you can tell by the mud encrusted on the laces. Put all that together, and living rough seems a reasonable hypothesis.
More than just reasonable, surely.
No, there's not enough data for a firmer conclusion, though, of course, a lack of information is in itself informative.
You mean it's significant that he was walking around with completely empty pockets?
There's no money, no means of identification, no keys, nothing personal at all. It's fascinating.
You know, the police are going to be sorely disappointed.
I beg your pardon?
The police. Well, look at it from their point of view. They're summoned here, shown a body, told the tale. They'll expect you to reel off every last detail about this poor chap, from his shoe size to his mother's maiden name. Holmes?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, don't take it to heart, old man.
My reputation, Watson.
Oh, come on.
No. It's not vanity.
Oh?
No, it's sheer practicality. Let the official forces see me fail, and how ready will they be to bring me their cases?
I thought they weren't doing that anyway.
Then split hairs, Doctor. Sooner or later, they'll come up against something that's beyond even the Strayed's lucky streak. Why should they bring it to me if I can't solve a mystery on my own hearthrug?
Give them the facts you just gave me. They'll be impressed, all right.
No, it's not enough. What more do we know? What more?
Nothing, surely.
There is something. There is something. You remember what he said?
Of course. They're trying to kill me.
No, that wasn't it.
I could have sworn.
Well, you and almost every other witness prepared to swear on the good book because you're sure. You're wrong, nonetheless.
All right, then. What did he say?
He said they're going to kill me. Not trying. Going.
Is that really a significant difference?
Oh, shame on you, Doctor. And you a man of letters.
Well, I understand the distinction. I just meant, given the state he was in, would he have been that careful with his choice of words?
I believe so. And there's something else. Do you recall the whole of what he said? Not just the part that grabbed your writer's imagination.
Well, let me see. While he was still downstairs, he insisted on coming straight up. I don't remember the exact words he used, though.
No, not to worry. The speed and the anxiety are the significant factors there. What about when he reached the room?
Well, he said something like, Mr. Holmes, I need your help. They're trying... No, they're going to kill me.
And once again, you'd be prepared to swear to that, would you?
Well, since you ask me, no, of course I wouldn't. I've obviously got something wrong.
A detail. But if I'm right, a highly significant detail.
All right, then, what did he say?
Well, I was holding the door open for him. Mm-hmm. He staggered in and looked around and said, Dr. Watson, you have to help me. Mr. Holmes, they're going to kill me. And then he...
Yes, you needn't recreate the rest, thank you. We'll run out of room on the floor.
Dr. Watson, you have to help me. Mr. Holmes, they're going to kill me. You see the significance, of course.
What, that he spoke to me first? Oh, that was just because he saw me first, surely.
No. He met my eyes as he came through the door.
Oh, you really think it means something?
It means, my dear doctor, that he came here to see you, not me. It was your help he needed, not mine.
I find that hard to believe.
That's another interesting reversal, certainly. This case seems to have more than its fair share.
Is it a case?
Oh, most certainly. A case of the collapsed client.
I think you should leave the writing to me. Give me his words again.
Dr. Watson, you have to help me. Mr. Holmes, they're going to kill me.
It sounds to me as though he wanted help from both of us.
But it was you he turned to first. He wanted you to do something for him, something specific, something that I couldn't do.
What, something medical? Oh, no, surely not. If he realized how critical his condition was, why not go to his own doctor?
Oh, we don't know where he lived, remember? My placing him in a townhouse, that was just speculation.
But why me? It's not as though he was only taken ill when he got up here. He must have been feeling bad while he was still down in the street. Why not ask someone there for help? Why not stop a policeman?
Now, that is a very interesting question. Yes, but back to our main investigation. Let's allow that he came here specifically to talk to you, to Dr. John H. Watson. What is it about your good self that made him do so?
My medical qualifications are nothing special. I've been in the army. I've more experience than most with crime and criminals.
My dear doctor, you're altogether too modest. You've omitted your most significant characteristic.
I have?
Watson, you're famous.
Oh, I'd hardly put it as strongly as that.
Well, you should. It's as capital a mistake to undervalue yourself as it is to do the opposite. You are John H. Watson, author. John H. Watson, biographer and confidant of Sherlock Holmes. John H. Watson, on whose every word hundreds of readers...
Thousands.
My point exactly. John H. Watson, on whose every word thousands of avid readers hang enthralled and entranced. What you have, what our unfortunate friend there needed, is an audience.
You're suggesting that he wanted me to tell his story?
To publicise his case, exactly. What you see on the rug, my dear doctor, is a man who believed that he'd been done some grievous wrong. And more than that, he hoped that the weight of public opinion might have put things to rights if only the facts could have been shouted abroad.
It's an awful lot to hang on the order of words in a sentence.
But it makes logical sense, admit it.
Yes. Yes, it does.
We progress.
But what on earth could his story have been? Someone was going to kill him.
No, more than one person. He said, they're going to kill me.
Oh, a criminal gang of some sort? A secret society out for revenge?
You raise an important point. Why didn't he stop a policeman down in the street? And more significantly, why didn't he simply go to the police in the first place? And wouldn't that be the first instinct of any law-abiding citizen faced with a threat of death?
Yes, it would. So he wasn't a law-abiding citizen?
Well, it's a possibility, and one we can use as a starting point. Right. The man is a criminal, one of a gang. As you suggested, he falls foul of the others, he double-crosses them, and they swear revenge.
No, I'm sorry, that won't work.
Oh, why not?
Because The Strand is a family magazine. No criminal would expect me to publish his story there.
Some of your stories
Have been carefully edited for public consumption. You know that perfectly well. No, if this man expected me to publicise his case, then I don't think he could have been a criminal. Besides, appealing to the public, that's the act of an innocent man, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. And of course the real answer's been staring me in the face.
It has?
Where can a hitherto respectable man acquire grime and general dishevelment in a very short space of time?
Well, several places spring to
A
mind.
hitherto respectable man who pointedly avoids talking to the authorities?
Good Lord. You think he'd been in prison?
Well, at the very least in a holding cell in a police station, which means he must have escaped, hence the anxiety, the rush, and the empty pockets.
Ah, because his possessions would have been taken away.
Standard procedure. And however attached a man might be to his pocketbook and his keys, if he just escaped from his cell, I doubt if he'd stop to retrieve them. Besides which, you've already said that his state of mind would have been confused.
In the extreme, if you're right. And coupled with his failing health, yes, I'll allow that it's possible. Well done, Holmes.
Well, I think we can go further. A man recently in jail who declares that he's about to be killed.
The death penalty?
It seems a reasonable assumption.
Murder? Or treason?
In either case, he was so utterly convinced of his own innocence that he went to extraordinary lengths. A police station holding cell isn't an easy crib to crack.
You don't think he's faced trial yet?
He doesn't bear any of the signs of a condemned man. His hair's not been shaved, and those hands certainly haven't seen hard labour, even for a short time.
No, you're right. So, no trial yet, but he was completely convinced that he'd be found guilty. The evidence against him must be overwhelming.
Probably circumstantial. Caught standing over the body with a gun in his hand, that sort of thing. Add a motive, and there you are. Doesn't take much to condemn a man to death.
I'd like to think it took more than that. Couldn't he have brought character witnesses?
We don't know his character, do we? For all we know, he might have been a bully and a thug.
That doesn't necessarily make him a murderer.
It makes it easier for the police to decide he's the right man for the vacancy. Present them with a likely enough candidate, and they do tend to stop looking.
Outrageous. When the police get here, will you tell them so?
Well, I would if I thought it would do any good. But whoever comes, and whenever they turn up...
How long do you think it'll take?
It's unlikely they'll have any direct connection with his case, whatever it was.
So we might never know.
Unless he has still more to tell us.
Is that likely?
No, probably not. Well, my friend, we found ourselves in some strange situations in the past. But waiting for the official constabulary to remove a corpse from our sitting room floor is probably one of the strangest.
There's no probably about it.
And the rain stopped.
So it has.
I wonder...
What?
I wonder if I could determine which station he was held in.
Is that possible?
Yes, it could be. It depends on the dirt under his nails. Yes, let's have a closer look. Pass me a sheet of paper, will you?
Oh, yes. Here.
Yes, thank you. And small scissors from my desk.
Which drawer?
Left-hand top. In with the lockpicks and the handcuffs.
Right. Yep.
Good, thank you. Now, if there's enough material to work with...
Is there?
I'm not sure. To tell you the truth, I'm also not sure. It would be distinctive enough anyway. The walls of a cell are not particularly individual. Now, if he'd been crawling around on his hands and knees in the mud outside the station, I'd be rather more confident. Now, sometimes I wonder if Scotland Yard will ever recognise the power of science in this work. Will there ever come a day when there's a microscope in every police station in the land?
Only if they can find a way to make tea with it.
Now, let's see.
Anything?
Nothing. Brick dust, general grime, could have come from anywhere.
So he's told us all he can, has he? Taken his secrets to the grave.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean?
I've been investigating the wrong part of his life. It's what happened before he was arrested that's the real point. Don't you agree?
Well, yes, but we can't find out anything about
Watson,
that.
how many times have you heard me astound a client with a list of deductions? You've recently been in China. You have a liking for strong coffee. You're a mason. Your maiden aunt died suddenly last October.
I can't say I actually recall that last one.
Never mind the details. It's the general principle that matters.
Well, then yes. I've seen you do it dozens of times, as you know full well. Written up a few of them, too. But so what?
Well, there's the client. There's no reason why I can't do it to him just as much as anyone else.
I thought you already had.
Oh, there has to be more. Help me turn him over.
Do you think we should?
Well, there's precious little more to be told from a view of his back.
But shouldn't we leave him exactly where he fell for the police to see?
The police? They'll look at him and make their one stunning deduction, blimey governor, he snuffed it, and then they'll cart the unfortunate gentleman away. We could strip him naked, wash the body, anoint him with strawberry jam, and then cut off his head, and your average Scotland Yarder would scarcely even notice.
You know, this fixation of yours borders on the obsessive. Have you ever thought of seeing an alienist?
Be a good fellow. Help me turn him over.
Right. Oh, dab leg.
It's bad today, isn't it?
Oh, it's this foul weather. Plays it up.
Well, I can do this on my own.
No, I can manage.
Oh, thank you.
Right, you're welcome.
Now, so we have a whole new drama unfolding in front of our eyes.
I'm pleased to hear it.
It's including a better view of his face. And you'll agree that the contortions support your diagnosis. Death by cardiac arrest.
I still wouldn't like to be definite without a proper examination.
I'm not asking you to sign the death certificate, just give an opinion. I say the odds are in favour of a heart attack. Do you agree?
Yes, they are.
Very good. Then for the moment at least we'll rule out some exotic murder weapon. No darts from a blowpipe or snakes down the bell rope for your readers this time, I'm afraid.
Oh, well.
Yes, but enough of these distractions. We don't know how long we've got until the Yard honours us with its presence. So,
is there anything I can do?
What you always do. Pay close attention, be ready to question everything I say, and feel free to comment at any time.
Very well.
Right. Let us begin.
What have you found?
I collected my dirt from under the nails on his right hand. His left's far more interesting. Take a look at the back of it.
What is that? Just more dirt?
No, it's something far more particular. Soot, I think. Yes, soot which isn't coming off. I want a doctor. Hold his wrist for me, would you?
Yes, of course.
Yes, thank you. Yes, look at his shirt sleeve.
Looks like the same stuff.
I believe it is.
Perhaps he just brushed up against something.
Perhaps. For now, it's just a fact to be noted and filed away for future reference. So we can add something else to our store of information. I was a little hasty when I said there was nothing in his pockets. Here.
Looks like ash of some sort.
His old Virginian ready rubbed, smoked on a cherry wood pipe. And from his left-hand coat pocket, So,
the odds are very good that he was right-handed. Handkerchief in the right pocket, pipe in the left.
There are exceptions, but as you say, the odds are in favour. Another fact for the file.
Anything else?
Not that I can see. So, what do we have? A man of advancing years, a butler in a good household, an individual accustomed to deference and possibly respect from his staff and appreciation from his employers.
Who finds himself involved in some sort of crime. I suppose murder's more likely than treason.
Murder it shall be then until we learn differently. Our man's discovered in a position so compromising that his guilt seems quite certain. The police are summoned. He's arrested and led away under guard, not being permitted to dress properly, only to throw an outdoor coat over his shirt sleeves.
The missing jacket. Yes, that makes sense.
He's taken away, locked in a cell, a none too secure cell as it turns out, so we might be talking about a country setting rather than a town one after all.
Imagine the effect all this has on him. His dignity destroyed, his loyalty impugned, not to mention the shock if the murder victim was someone he knew well. All that on top of failing health, if I'm right about the weak heart.
He knows that he's innocent. He says as much to the police.
But they're more than content with their circumstantial evidence, whatever it is.
And driven by his despair, he somehow breaks out of his captivity and comes here to us.
Holmes, that's masterly. Bravo.
Thank you, thank you.
What's the matter?
It should be possible to find out more.
More? Oh, come on.
Those marks on his hand. Perhaps if I take a sample... Oh, damn.
Oh, you think it's the police?
Why do they have to choose today to move faster than their customary crawl?
It's not the Yard.
No?
No, it's the boy from the newsagents with the early evening editions.
Well, I might still have time. Watson, where are you going?
Well, down to get the papers. I don't want Mrs. Hudson to come walking in here and find you crawling all over a dead butler.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Scalpel, I think. Yes, scalpel. Scalpel, sheet of paper. Careful.
Holmes,
Careful, Doctor. I don't want these scrapings blown away.
Sorry.
Just 1 second more. There. You can come in now.
It's in the papers. They've all got the story.
Huh? What story?
Shocking death of the head of one of the oldest families in the realm, Edward John Neville, 14th Lord Abergavenny of Cuckfield House in the village of Eridge West.
Just the south of London?
Yes, was shot dead last night by his butler, Mr. James Davison. Davison was discovered with the fatal weapon still in his hand and offered no resistance as the rest of the household staff retained him until the police arrived. However, he escaped from police custody in the early hours of this morning and is still at liberty. The public is warned to be on the lookout for this most dangerous and desperate criminal.
He doesn't look too dangerous to me.
Aren't you pleased? You were right in every particular.
It was a perfectly straightforward chain of logic. Just at this moment, I'm more interested in getting this soot or whatever it is under my microscope. Just don't flap those papers about for a second, little chap.
Right.
They're safely stowed. Right. What else do the public prints have to tell us?
Most of them seem to have the same details. Oh, no. No, here's something new. A junior night shift constable heard the prisoner protesting his innocence, but in view of the incontrovertible evidence against him, took little heed.
There's a man who'll rise in the force. Nothing else?
I don't think so. Oh, no. One thing. His lordship was killed with one of his own antique duelling pistols, a 17th century double-barrelled flintlock which had been specially prepared for a demonstration the following day.
More so-called evidence against the butler. He would have known that the gun was in working order.
Why are you so sure that he was innocent?
I'm not at all sure, but I'm certain that the evidence is far from conclusive. He came here for our help, remember. We must keep an open mind.
Holmes, the man is dead.
A client's a client, dead or otherwise. Oh, but I'm slow. An antique flintlock pistol.
What of it?
Well, guns of that era are wonderfully informative. Just move out of the light, would you?
Oh, sorry. How's that?
Watson, the bringer of light. Excellent, thank you. Yeah. Well, that does seem to make things clear.
What have you found?
It's only by eye, of course, but I don't believe this is soot. No, it's gunpowder, embedded in the skin by the force of the blast from the gun.
So he did fire it?
No, we shouldn't take it for granted. I could be wrong.
Well, what are you doing?
Well, placing the matter beyond doubt. I've been working on a chemical test for gunpowder traces.
Does it work?
Well, it's not 100% foolproof, but it's a good indication. And would you open a window?
Why? Just what does this test involve?
Well, concentrated sulfuric acid, amongst other things.
Yeah, I'll open the window.
Thank you. Well, it might be a good idea to stay over there until I finish this stage.
I was planning on it.
So I don't need much of the acid. Yes, that should be sufficient. Now I'm mixing this.
What are you adding?
A little something of my own compound of carbon, nitrogen and water. There, stir. Now, Doctor, I'd be grateful for your assistance.
What do you need?
I need a candle from my bedroom.
You'd like me to get it?
If you don't mind. I was always taught that if you're using concentrated acid, it's good practice never to walk away from your bench and leave it unattended.
Very sound advice.
So I found out on the only occasion I ignored it. Brother Mycroft will give you the details if you're interested, but I warn you, it's rather a touchy subject with him.
I think I'm probably happier in ignorance.
Yes, I think you are.
Is that how you first got interested in chemistry? You picked it up from your brother?
Good Lord, no. Mycroft's interest in science begins and ends with the correct temperature for roasting beef.
Right, one candle.
Yes, light it, would you? Here. There. Excellent, excellent.
Now what?
Now I want you to drip wax across the back of our client's left hand.
May I ask why?
Well, of course you may, but I'd hate to spoil the suspense. You'll find out very shortly.
All right. There. How large an area should I cover?
Well, the larger the better. Normally I leave half the evidence for the Scotland Yarders, but in this case it would be a waste of time. Watson, are you smiling? Do you find this amusing?
Of course not. Well, to a certain extent, yes. 6 years at university, Netley Hospital, the army, general practice, and here I am solemnly dripping candle wax onto the hand of a dead butler.
And doing it very well.
Suppose the police turn up now.
You'll think of something. No, that's enough.
Oh, right. Have we finished with the candle?
We have. Would you mind putting it back?
Yes, my pleasure. I always enjoy looking at the decor in your bedroom.
Really?
No, of course not. How in the world do you sleep with all those eyes staring down at you?
Very well, usually. I like being surrounded by famous criminals. Old friends, some of them.
Most people are content with a nice landscape. What's next?
We have to wait until the wax is completely hard. It won't take long. Not long at all.
I still can't see the purpose of it.
You will. Think of hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs?
Ah, I think it's ready. Yes, now.
What are you going to do?
Watch. We have to prise off the wax without breaking it, which is not always easy. Here it comes. There. You see?
It pulls away the embedded dirt. That's damnably clever.
The dirt, any other particles, a few hairs. Yeah, I got the idea from the way gypsies cook hedgehogs, except they use clay, of course.
Isn't the skin pattern fascinating? I suppose I must look at my hands 100 times a day, but I've never consciously taken it in before now.
You look, but you don't observe. As I believe I've told you before.
The odd time or two, yes.
But observe now. You're looking at the future of detection.
Skin patterns?
Specifically on the ends of the fingers.
Oh, you mean this new theory? You really think there's something in it?
Depend on it. But for now, that's not what I'm interested in. Now, the final stage of the test. The wax goes into a dish. The sulfuric acid solution is dripped onto it.
And?
Takes a few seconds. If the traces were from a gun being fired, they'll contain various nitrites and minute fragments of lead, and the solution will turn... Well, there you are. The solution will turn blue.
So he did fire the gun?
So it seems.
But that's wonderful.
Is it?
Oh, the test, I mean. I can't understand why you're not more excited. Surely it'll change the whole face of detection. An infallible way of determining who fired the fatal shots.
No, it's too early to call it infallible.
Well, even so, I mean, you remember when we first met?
Ah, the Sherlock Holmes blood test.
Yes, you just discovered it. And you were dancing about like a demented chorus girl. Why not now?
This is going to sound odd.
Oh, there'll be nothing unusual about that.
I mean, in the midst of all this scientific rigour.
Oh, go on.
I just had the strongest feeling that he was innocent.
What happened to keeping an open mind?
No, you're quite right to be critical.
And in any case, when have you ever placed any credence in feelings?
No, I know. I've no evidence, nothing concrete, just a feeling. Perhaps I really am losing my grip on reality after all.
Oh, nonsense. There's nothing wrong with following your instincts. It's not something to be ashamed of.
Perhaps not. But in any case, it's academic. I wonder how much longer we'll have to wait for the official forces of law and ignorance.
Holmes, really? Quite apart from anything else, you've just proved that they arrested the right man.
True enough. Yet another reversal. fool.
I beg your pardon?
No, not you, my dear fellow, me. Fool, fool, fool. Watson, he kept his pipe in his left coat pocket.
Well, yes, so you said. What of...
You've seen it.
It's not conclusive.
No, it's not, but it's highly suggestive. You said it yourself. The odds are that he was right-handed.
So what was he doing firing a gun with his left hand?
Exactly. Of course he wasn't.
Well, then...
Now, just one moment while I check my theory. Aha!
The palm of his hand. What's the significance?
There's even more staining on the palm. Once I saw the back of his hand, I stopped looking. A beginner's mistake.
Well, how did the stuff get on
Then
his palm?
compounded by totally neglecting his right hand, an error which I shall now rectify.
Well?
The right palm's the same as the left. Coated.
If he held the gun between his two hands...
Now, it still wouldn't have produced this pattern.
What then?
The late Mr. Davison didn't fire the gun at all, but he was standing close to the person who did.
There was someone else there.
And what's more, Davison was reaching out to the gun, either to grab it or simply to push it away from its target. Like so, you see?
Well, that would account for the marks on the palms. What about the back of his left hand?
Let's see. Yes, right. You're the killer.
All right.
All right? Just there, you stand so. Yes, the gun's in your right hand, levelled at his unfortunate lordship.
Like so?
To the life. And I am Davidson, faithful old family retainer. I come into the room, see this appalling sight, move towards you as quickly as I can manage.
And I?
You fire, you shoot Lord Abergavenny. There's a considerable noise.
Bang?
Thank you, Watson. And a cloud of discharged particles and smoke, which, thanks to my position slightly behind you and to your right, embed themselves in the back of my left hand.
Why not your face?
Well, because my instinctive reaction was to shield it with my hand. You see?
Right.
Yes, I keep moving towards you, turning slightly, this time with my hands outstretched to grab the weapon, or possibly your arm.
And I fire again. Bang!
Thank you, yes, neatly coating both my palms with a discharge from the gun. What do you think?
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So he was innocent.
I knew it. That much desperation doesn't arise from fakery. He must have walked in on his employer and the killer as they faced each other.
But if a third person was in the room, why didn't any of the other staff mention it? Come to that, why didn't Davison tell the police himself?
You supplied the answer a few minutes ago.
Yes. Yes, I did. Wait. Yes, here we are. Davison was discovered with the fatal weapon still in his hand and offered no resistance as the rest of the household staff retained him until the police arrived. No resistance. He was too shocked to speak.
Exactly. It wasn't until late at night that he was heard trying to tell his side of the story, and then only by some fresh-faced lad barely out of training who paid him no heed.
All right. That explains why Davison didn't mention the true killer. What about the rest of the staff? The man...
If it was a man.
The killer, then. He, or she, must have been admitted to the house.
Evidently not.
One of the other servants?
It's a possibility.
But you don't think so?
A more immediate effect of discharging a pistol, especially an antique flintlock's, the highly distinctive smell. It permeates the clothes and the hair. A servant reeking of gunpowder would surely be noticed by the rest of the staff, if not in the murder room, then later, below stairs.
So the killer got into and out of the house without being seen?
So I read it. Lord Abergavenny. What do we know about him?
Well, next to nothing, I'm afraid.
Let's see if the good old index can be more helpful. Right. Larry Green, the Limehouse lounger. Latimer Street slaughter before your time, that one. It's Legion of Honour. The lighthouse, the politician, and the train cormorant. Tedious little case, that. There's the long man of Wilmington, and... the noble Lord Abergavenny. Well.
What? Holmes, don't be so infuriated.
My apologies. I got quite caught up in the saga.
What saga, for heaven's sake? And why have you collected information on this Abergavenny anyway?
It was for a case some years ago. You were away at the time. Now, don't look at me like that, Watson. It's a very commonplace affair. Nothing for your readers to get their teeth into.
But you turned up something about Lord Abergavenny that's still relevant?
Yes, I believe so. He was quietly selling off most of his possessions. Pictures, furniture, heirlooms. Very quietly. I'm pretty sure even the old man's son didn't know about it.
He was in serious financial trouble, and he didn't tell his own son.
The pride of the landed classes. And the boy lives overseas, so it would have been an easy deception. But that's beside the point. Now, let's suppose that the intervening years have done nothing to change the situation. More and more of the son's due inheritance is sold off until finally, the last to go, his lordship has to part with his prized possessions, his collection of antique firearms.
The murder weapon was cleaned specially for a demonstration, it said in the paper.
Exactly. What if the boy finally got wind of what was going on? How would he react?
Deep disappointment that his father hadn't felt able to confide in him?
Yes, and in all probability despair at the hopelessness of his own future.
Well, certainly.
And out of that despair, fury, hatred. The boy comes back to England, confronts his father.
And kills him?
Well, think about it. Who better than the son to come and go as he pleased without exciting any suspicion? Who better to know the fastest route to the nearest convenient hiding place until the hue and cry had died down?
It does hang together.
Yes, but you resist the very notion of a son murdering his father.
Well, yes, of course I do. That level of hatred, it's not natural.
Well, natural or not, I'm afraid it happens. And my theory, it does, as you say, hang together.
It does. My dear Holmes, you realise what you've done?
Managed to fill 40-odd minutes in an otherwise empty and boring day?
False modesty doesn't become you. You know perfectly well what I mean. You've not only identified our wretched caller and deduced why he was here, you cleared his name and identified a prime suspect for the real criminal. And you were worried about your reputation.
Perhaps I should dust off my laurel wreath.
It would be well deserved. But not until after the police have gone, I think.
The police? I'd totally forgotten they were coming.
I can't wait to see their faces as you take them through the whole thing.
No, listen.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, I thought it was... wait. Yes, it's a four-wheeler. Right on cue. The official detective forces arrive on our doorstep.
Whom have they sent? Some uniformed sergeant or other?
No, not exactly. Watson, I believe I'm going to enjoy this.
Oh, we mustn't let Mrs. Hudson come up. I'll go down.
No. I'll deal with it. Lestrade, my very dear fellow, won't you come up?
In The Abergavenny Murder, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. John Watson by Andrew Sachs. James Davison was played by Ewan Meredith. The Abergavenny Murder was written by Bert Coules from a reference in the short story The Priory School by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The director was Patrick Rayner.